And yep. All right. We'll stop sharing now. Perfect. All right. And yep, we're recording. So to introduce myself, I'm Deisha. I'm also a match applicant for this year. I matched into UMD. I will not be on the panel. I'm just here to moderate. And I will have all the other panelists introduce themselves now that we are recording.
Okay, I'll just go first then. Hello, everyone. Sorry, my voice might sound a bit funny. I'm under the weather, so. My name is Chidima Mereno. I matched at Medical College of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. Non-US IMG. I graduated from St. George's University in Grenada. And also, I did all my application from outside the US. I also did not have no US clinical experience. So yeah.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Radia Taylor. I matched at MedStar Franklin Square in Baltimore, Maryland, and I am a DO.
My name's Akia Allen. I matched at Lehigh Valley Health Network in Pennsylvania, and I am a DO as well.
Hello, my name's Raquel. I am currently in St. Louis at St. Louis University, a fourth year, and I matched at UNC.
Awesome. Thank you all for starting the panel once again. Just to dive right into the questions, we do have a few already submitted, and then we'll open up to open forum for everybody to submit your questions. I also still have the question document up, so if you want to submit questions that way or through the chat, feel free to do both. I'll be checking all three somehow. So our first question, and I've had this question a lot just from the groups, all the different groups, is how best to prepare for AIs or sub-Is, sub-internships, acting internships. There's so many different names. And just a note, make sure you're all muted. Thank you for muting. Yeah, so how to best to prepare for AIs and sub-Is if you've done them. And if two people can take that if you've done them.
Yeah, I didn't do any away rotations, but yeah, we had to do a sub-I at our home institution. And I would say one of the things that really helped is taking note of how the residents on service present. Because you can talk to 5 different attendings and they'll have 5 different ways of how they want you to present the patient. But pay attention to what the residents are highlighting and what they say are important, as well as if you notice that an attending is always asking a question, like I remember I had one attending that would always ask for the vital signs, or some people didn't care about that. So if you know that they're always asking for something, make sure you include that in your presentation as well. So just trying to take context clues from what's going on around you. And then in the next couple of days, I think you'll get better with getting the presentations how they want.
Everybody, just a reminder to mute.
Just to, I guess, add to that a little bit. So I did I think 3 audition rotations, because at the time I didn't realize that for family, you don't really have to do that many. So that's something, you don't really have to do too many auditions for family medicine, but I mean, you can, excuse my dog, you can do as many as you want. It's a good exposure. To add on to what she said about getting cues from residents, also ask them for feedback early. It's an audition, you're trying to put your best foot forward, but you're also at that point where it's like yesterday I was a third year and today I'm auditioning for residency. I remember on my first audition, a resident told me okay, let's talk about the difference between a third year and a fourth year. You don't have to go through everything, when you're presenting like you did in third year, because they expect that you already know that. So just getting a feel of okay, what, like she said, what is this attending like? Or what tips do you have for me, especially if it's an intern or a second year? Because I feel like sometimes third years are look, I'm just trying to get out of here. You got it. You can figure it out. But yeah, so definitely talk to the residents.
So our next question is, I have 8 different things open. So what to bring up in your personal statement? So what did your personal statement look like? And going forward, another 2 people, the other 2 people who haven't answered. Let's go back.
I guess I would go with that. So your personal statement is really a story. You want to create like an engaging story for the reader. You have to highlight what made you interested in family medicine, what you've done in the past, your past experience that clearly states your interest in family medicine, and what you will be doing in the future in family medicine, how your program will aid you to achieve that your future goal in family medicine, and how you will also, what you bring to your program as well. So yeah, I think that is like the most important things you want to have in your personal statement. I've had people say they brought up like red flags in personal statements. So if you feel maybe you need to address something that is peculiar, then you may have to add that as well in your personal statement if you have any of those.
Yes, absolutely. I would say I'm very big on themes. So making sure that your personal statement has a theme and it correlates with all your, or at least most of your extracurriculars or anything else that's on your resume. Like it should all be under this umbrella theme. I also had like a really, I guess, captivating intro paragraph that made someone keep reading. All the things that were stated before as well. And then I also tied in a little bit of who I was and correlated that to my resume. So I kind of thought of what do I want people to know about me when they read my personal statement? Because sometimes, I don't know how the application review works, but sometimes a personal statement might be all they read or something, you never know. So just making sure you have that theme, and yeah, and special shout out to Dr. Walker for editing my personal statement. Thank you.
So I know I said I wasn't going to input on this panel, but I'm going to put little comments into the chat now because I really liked my theme of tattoos. I'm really into tattoos. So next question is, did you have research experience? How important is it to family medicine? And if you didn't get research experience, do you think it affected your application in any way? The whole cycle. And I'll leave that open because I don't know exactly who has research experience.
So my school requires a 1-month research rotation for 3rd year, and then I did another one during 4th year. So I did have research experience, but it was not bench work. They were both on like public health type topics. I did one on childhood obesity and one on hypertension in African Americans. I think that if you do research, and honestly, anything that you do, be ready to talk about it. That's the biggest thing. I don't think that it, like, because it was in my application, they brought it up. Some programs more than others. I'm interested in preventative/lifestyle medicine. So when I said that, they were like, oh, I saw that you did these, you know, because like she said, having a theme in your whole application. So I guess that kind of is in my theme. So they brought it up. But I have friends who didn't do research, and I think it's okay. Just if you do, even if it was like something small and, you know, you got your name on a paper in 1st year, make sure you're ready to talk about it if you're going to put it on the application.
I also had research. I did 2 research projects. This was kind of before I knew what specialty I wanted to do. So one of my research was just in like COVID research, and then the other one was in ophthalmology at a dark time when I thought I wanted to do ophthalmology. But anyway, so thankfully family medicine, it ties into literally everything. And I actually got asked more about my research for my master's than I did for like med school, because they were just more interested in that. So I don't think it really adds, but obviously, like if you do have something on your application, theme, tie it all into family medicine.
For me, I didn't have like, you know, an actual research. I had the research from my pre-med time in my undergrad. We did like a group of 5 students that had this research thing we did for grades. I think that was on physician burnout, on how to, on what to do about that. I think that was, I just put it in there, to be honest. And also I had one oral presentation during my rotations in Grand Grant. So I put that as well. So that was the research I had for my application.
So our next question is more about interviewing. We're going more toward that side now. So how did you engage program? Well, actually, I'm gonna skip that. Go back to it. What criteria did you use for selecting which residency programs to apply to? I can repeat the question. It was a little jumbled if needed.
Just to confirm, it's what criteria, right?
Yeah.
Okay. For me, I first did location. Very important. Where do you want to be for 3 years? Where do you see yourself living? Second thing I did was kind of think of things I want. I also am really interested in lifestyle medicine. So looking for programs that either had that or maybe had some sort of affiliation in the area or something like that. And then I also want to do osteopathic medicine like in practice. So I needed a program that would teach me how to bill. So that helped me kind of narrow a lot of things down.
I will say one of the first things I looked at was how many Black people were in the program in years before. And that's still tough to gauge because they could have a lot of Black people one year and not a lot the next year. But that was really important for me. Location as well. And then, yeah, what your interests are. So I want to deliver babies as well. So I wanted a program that got a high number of deliveries. And that being said, I think really any residency program, you can make it what you want, like you can find what you want to do, but it's just how easy is it going to be to find what you want to do there. So you're going to have to contact all these people and try to make all these things on your own, or is it already built into the curriculum? So think about kind of the things that you're interested in family medicine and look for those kind of programs. I didn't really have a preference on like small, big, like small, medium, or large program. And I still don't because I haven't experienced it. So yeah, I would say those things.
Can I just add a little tidbit? Oh, sorry, I'll do it after. Mhm.
Right. So for me, what I did was I looked at the program requirements and I prioritized the programs that I met their requirements. And also program, as someone said about the team in personal statement. So I had the team as well. So I wanted to make sure my team was matching to the program's vision as well. So in that case, I'm able to learn something from that program and bring something to the table as well, and have like a talking point doing interviews. I also looked at program that give visa because I needed visa as well. Location was important to me. I know, like, I made sure I checked for location and just applied to places I know I will feel safe in the program, depending on the program, their PD or whatever they had on their website.
I was gonna add that if there are any people who are future DOs on the call, like please look at the program and make sure they are DO friendly. I mean, obviously, like if you don't care about that, then that's fine, but check to see if they've had DOs in the past. Look at the language they use. Do they just say USMLE or do they say USMLE or COMLEX? Like those are very important things because you don't want to be at a place where they don't respect your degree. So yeah.
And even though, like to bounce off that real quick, even though the match is merged now, you can still get a list of like what programs were like osteopathic or like what programs are osteopathic recognized, where you can get osteopathic recognition. So if, like she said, if practicing OMM and learning more about that and how to bill it is important to you, then definitely look for those resources as well.
So Thank you for answering that. So the next question is the one I skipped. So how do you engage program culture? How do you gauge program culture during virtual interviews?
Sorry. Definitely go to open houses. They have those, let's see, shoot, I think applications were doing like September. So like honestly, in the summer, they started having open houses. I'm assuming they're gonna be virtual again because I think that they're doing virtual interviews for the most part again next year. But go to those. If you go to any conferences, like write your name down for like emails, follow programs on Instagram, because that's where they're gonna put all those announcements of when they're having open houses. And a lot of times they'll have like a small portion where somebody from the like GME office is talking and does a little presentation about their program. And then for the most part, it's a lot of stuff with the residents. And that's like the key on figuring out how the program really is. So I think going to open houses is really important. And then even if you can't go to those or you don't or whatever, during your interviews, they have the happy hours. Go to all of those. Like it'll be the day before your interview or sometimes like a couple days after the date of whatever. And it's just a Zoom call with the residents for you to ask those questions that you don't feel comfortable asking faculty, and like you'll get the most from the residents, I think. I mean, you have to ask the questions, but they usually are pretty candid. And I think if they're not, and you can really tell if a person likes their program based off of those kinds of things.
Anybody else wants to input? I'll put some stuff in the chat.
I was going to say also look at how they interact with each other at the residency fair. Like if you walk away, are they still cracking jokes? Are they smiling? Are they laughing? Are they just not speaking to each other? I'm a really big person on repetition. So I saw them at the conference, then I'd see them at the virtual interview, then the second look, then I would ask if they had any other events going on that I could sit in. Some programs I even asked, like, can I attend didactics? And then you listen, what are their conversations before didactics start? Are they laughing? Are they joking? Are they just not interested in each other? Just kind of like looking at how they interact with each other.
And then going off just like questions to ask during like interviews, what are good questions to ask in interviews? So for residents and then for attending, since we know it's different.
Wow, that's a long list. To
Just
be
like
honest.
top 5, your favorite ones
Oh.
you asked all the time.
Okay, what I did before my interview was I went to the AAFP website. There are a lot of questions you could ask attendants and residents. And depending on my program, I pick the ones that are relevant to my program. So depends on what I wanted. I asked questions based on that. I also asked the program director in like, I want to make sure like every program I am in, I'm well supported. So I do ask in case if there was an emergency, what happens? And and I don't have time to schedule a time off. What happens? Am I being covered in that instance? You could ask about specific things you are interested in. If you're interested in OB, whatever, if there's like the training you are particularly interested in. I was very keen in community medicine and global health. So I did ask those questions to my attendants and the PDs and the interviewers. And then for residents, I guess you just ask those, it could be very chilled kind of questions. So like, you more about the area, about the program, the culture of the program, just little bits of things that you might want to know that might interest you in that program for the residents.
I actually have a list. I'm going to drop it in the chat. A lot of them I got from the AAFP conference. So they're really good ones. So I'll drop them in the chat. And I think for residents, a really good one to ask is like, what is the day-to-day schedule like? Like, what's the longest I'll be working? I've seen on Twitter, some people work like 20 days straight. Like, is it 12 hours? I know, right? Is it like 12 hours on, like 12 off? Like, what does the day-to-day schedule look like? And I think that'll that really helps to like tease out the different programs too for how much you'll be working. And I'll drop the questions in the chat box too.
One question that I asked that I got a lot of, oh, I've never been asked that before, is I had every resident I interviewed describe their PD in 3 words. So like that would like tell the culture, and if they're using the same, I'm like, okay, there they might not be giving a show right now, but yeah, to kind of give you an idea of how the resident feels about the PD and like what the PD's character is. I also asked things that I was just interested in. I really like social media stuff, so I think I asked at least 3 program directors, like, what's your opinion about like social media and healthcare? Like just anything that you're interested in, because you know, some programs, they're not too big on social media, they don't care about it and stuff like that. But if I wanted to figure out the program that was best for me, so I would ask those questions.
Anybody else have any input for this question? So our last question is a direct question, and I think Chidema, you were the only IMG that on the call, so the question is for you. What did you think made your application stand out? Or what did you do to make your application stand out?
Okay. What I did was basically knowing what I wanted to do in the future in family medicine, what I wanted to do, what I'm looking for in a program. It's clear to me. So in that, I was able to build my strength around that. So I made a whole team on my personal statement, on my areas application, a whole team focusing on my interest. And in that, I was able to say things I could bring into the program and what the program can offer me, and also researching the programs. Oh my God, I'm not even gonna lie. Make sure you research the program. So just read up their visions and whatever they have on their website. That will help you understand the program culture or the orientation or whatever they are interested in. And with that, you would know if this program for me, and if the program is for you, it would be so much easier to point out your strengths and what you're going to bring into the program and what you're going to gain from the program.
So that was our last submitted question from the document. I did have one random question, just based on my experience also. So how did you go about scheduling? Is there any particular method you had for scheduling interviews, or did you kind of just do willy-nilly? Did you take other things into consideration versus other things? Anybody can answer this.
For me, so one thing that I didn't expect is like once you press submit, like the next day, interviews, like they start coming. Like it was kind of crazy. Like I wasn't expecting. I thought, you know, maybe they need some time to kind of figure out, and you kind of get them all throughout interview season. And in the beginning, you're like, oh, I have so much time, I can, you know, put them wherever. And then all of a sudden you like, I don't want to do 2 in a day. My advice is don't do 2 in one day. I did that one time. Don't recommend. Had a morning one and then an afternoon one. Don't recommend that. I tried to do like at least a day between them if I could. If you're on an audition rotation, sometimes they'll have you do your interview while you're there, whether that's virtual or they might do it in person. But if you're on your AI and it happens to land during that time, they'll do that. So I did that one first and then kind of spaced everything out once I got home from auditions. But I think it's okay to do interviews if you're on audition, if it's that one. Like I was told not to be like, hey, can I have some time off because I have another interview? I mean, they understand, but my advisor was like, I mean, you don't have to do that. If you get to the nitty gritty and it's like, this is the only day that matches me, then it is what it is. But yeah, I would say try to at least have a day between them and don't load yourself up too much.
I would add to say, make sure, I mean, we're all coming from different schools, but make sure, I guess, September, October, November, if you can try and squeeze in very low key, very stress-free rotations that you know that they'll be okay with you taking off. I ended up doing that, and thankfully, like, I was barely there. But they were really okay about it. They were like, we just want you guys to get jobs. Like, that's all we care about. So I'm having like a rotation that is supportive of you doing those interviews. And and then to piggyback off of last comment, making sure you do not schedule too many in 1 week. I made the mistake of scheduling either 3 or 4 in 1 week, and it was absolute madness. Like, to be honest, even 2, I feel like you should just leave it at 2 a week. Like, it's just way too much. It drains you. Your cheek muscles are sore. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of recovery that needs to happen.
So if nobody has anything else to input from the panel, I can open it up to just everyone here in the call. If you want to ask any questions, put anything in the chat. I don't have any more submitted things. And then I'll give that about a minute. And if nobody has any other questions, I'll take it off of the recording so people can ask those questions that they don't want to ask to be recorded. So feel free to take yourself off mute or put it in the chat.
Okay, just to say something while we wait for questions. In case you were like me, because I was applying from outside the US and I was so overwhelmed, I didn't know where to start. I didn't have that community of people that I could check on. So that was a bit scary for me. So what helped me on how to start my preparation towards application was starting early, to be honest. I printed out the ERAS residency timeline, pasted it on my wall. I started with what do I have to do now? Like thinking about people who are going to do my letter writers, at least 5 of them. I start thinking about that and planning on what to tell them. I had like a bit of summary doc for what I did during the rotations. And the start of the rotation to the end, I started thinking about what to put on my ERAS CV, started having like a Word document, just putting things I could remember, just putting that in. I also started looking out for people I know from my my school alumni and trying to ask them about their program, and being on Twitter, being on social media, just to get more information. I was just putting myself in that space because I was so secluded. I was just somewhere else without the people I was with. I did not have the same interest with me. So it was like trying to put myself in a space with people I had the same interest in, being on I know time difference was literally bad, but I was still being able to put in the time and the work, and just having your mindset. Oh my God, mindset is so important because I suffered a lot with doubt, and because I'm just far away, I never had US clinical experience. I'm applying from outside the US. It's like so many doubts, like, is this really what I should be doing? Am I going to have will I get any chance at all? So trying to work on my mindset was very important, trying to work towards positive mindset. Like I would match. I actually had like a paper, I wrote it and I pasted it on my room. So every morning I wake up, I'm saying it, like it's reminding me that I have to put in the work. And I actually put in the work. I wasn't sleeping. I put in the work. I was awake 3 a.m. going to meetings. So if you are in such situations as well, it's not impossible. You could still get this. You just have to reorient yourself. You have to put yourself in that position to give yourself the best. So I just want to encourage you, don't fright. I know it's scary, but put in the work and it will surely, you will see a result.
Thank you, Chidama. That was really great. And we also have a question while we did that. Somebody thought of something. So somebody asked, how do you highlight your humps on your journey to getting your MD? So it doesn't seem like you're hiding them.
I'll take a stab at that. So I had to retake my level 2, so that's like step 2, whatever. And I took my first attempt at a weird time, like late, because I was trying to study, whatever. And so I was taking interviews while I was studying for my retake. So initially it was like an elephant in the room to me. To them, they're just like, look, we like the rest of your application. Just tell us what your plan is. So I think that kind of goes for all like humps or red flags or whatever you want to call it. They'll ask you questions without asking you straight up that question about it. Like they'll say things like, oh, have you had any challenges during med school? And that's your chance to say, you know what? Yes, I did. One challenge that I've had is X, Y, and Z, or any obstacles or things like that. I mean, I guess technically you could say something else like, I mean, I had other obstacles that wasn't that, but I felt like that was the chance to bring it up, get it on the table. And then they're like, oh, okay, like, when are you retaking it? Tell them the date. They're like, okay, just let us know when you get your score and we wish you the best of luck. And that was the end. So then that got out the way. Now you're not sitting there thinking the whole interview, like, are they going to ask me? What do I say? So if they give you that chance to bring something up, just say it. I had another interview where the interviewer was just like, oh, like I really like your application. It was a blind, I guess they didn't see scores. Sometimes people only see your activities and things like that. They don't necessarily see your grades and your scores. But the interviewer was like, I really liked your application. I feel like you're a good candidate. And it was like the last question. She's like, is there anything that you want to tell me for me to support you in the room when we're having, the conversation about who we want? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I had this happen. I didn't pass my test, but I'm retaking it on this day. I plan to pass it. And, and she was like, thanks for telling me, I didn't pass. She ended up telling me she didn't pass a test somewhere in her journey too. So it's like, that helps. So, you have people in your corner, but don't go into it. And I know this is very much so easier said on this side than it is, when you're sitting there preparing, but don't go into it like nervous because they're going to find out. And it's better to come from you than for them to be in that little meeting like, we liked her, but did y'all know that she, what I'm saying? And now it seems like you don't want to talk about things or you can't bring up like confrontation or whatnot.
So going to the next steps, because there's no other questions in the chat and nobody's come off yet. So just so you guys see, I don't know how to share. So the next events that are pertinent to you guys, we have the national conference and creating residency lists, the ERAS in August, and interviewing, which is open to all. Also, as an announcement, I'll do it during this part. We will also be opening the match rep application, so I can finally stop posting all the time in your group. That will open on the 28th. I'll also just be putting it in your group chat later on tonight. And then our closing slide. So also make sure you subscribe to our ABFMP residency application calendar and become a member of the ABFMP if you are not already. In order to be a match representative, you have to be a member of the ABFMP, as well as to do certain workshops and other things for us. To get certain opportunities, you have to be a member as well. So just keep that in mind as you go through the year and join us. And with that being said, I'll leave this up for a little bit so you guys can do that. And we'll take it. Somebody asked if you guys can't see it, if it would be okay if you can connect on social media like LinkedIn. So if you guys feel comfortable to share your socials.
I also see a question about recommendation letters.
Yes. Yeah, sorry, I didn't scroll that far up.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna answer it. So I ended up submitting 4, no reason at all. I think I just did the backs. I had enough, so I was just like, I'll just send them. I did 2 family medicine, and then I did 1 cardiology, and he had been my mentor for like 14 years. And then I did surgery. Jokes. But yeah, we vibed. So she wrote my letter. But yeah, I think it's really, I mean, aside from obviously like programs, you need a family medicine letter, I'm pretty sure. But whoever you have a great connection with and who's going to write you a strong letter, let them write it, because family medicine is everything. Everything ties in. The surgery tied in, the cardiology tied in. Just making sure you have people who are going to write you good letters.
Also, make sure you tell people that you want to go into family medicine. I know sometimes like during third year, you're like 2 months you want to do OB, 3 months you want to do psych, and then maybe at the end you're like, oh, family med. But just make sure before they write your letter, say like, I'm doing family med, because programs, they know how to like weed out people who aren't really into family med or who are using family med as a backup. So make sure that you tell them that, so that it's not a letter saying Akia is going to be a great surgeon, and then it's sent to all these programs and they're like, okay, well, we don't want her because she wants to be a surgeon and not, a family medicine doctor. So just make sure you ask about that or mention it.
So we're getting a lot of questions right now. I'm not sure if people want them recorded or not. So I'm gonna just keep asking that because we haven't unrecorded it yet. I think somebody just submitted one. So if you want to say it out loud or not, if you want to record it, I'll give you that. If not, if you don't say anything, I'm just gonna ask it in the group right now where we're still recorded. So the question is, do the research papers have to be published to be significant, or does any experience count?
So the way the ERAS application is set up is you have an experiences section. So you can put any research that you've done there, whether it was published or not. And then there's also a publication section. And so if it did get published, then you can put the citation there. And there's also like a presentation section. So if it's not a paper, but you presented it at a conference, then you can put it in that section. So it allows the opportunity to place it wherever.
On that note, we will stop recording. That way those questions can be asked. Ryan, please.